Hey guys! Today we'll be discussing an interesting Supreme Court case called Pauca versus Connecticut. Now, what's this case about, you may ask? Well, it all started with this guy named Frank Pauca. You heard that right. His last name was misspelled in the actual court case. Now, Pauca allegedly shot and killed two police officers in Bridgeport, Connecticut on September 30th, 1935, after he also broke into a music store and stole a radio. Plus, he had charges against him for juvenile delinquency and statutory rape prior. Things were already looking pretty dismal for Pauca. When he was arrested on charges of first-degree murder and brought to court, Pauca confessed to the crimes he had committed. However, the judge refused to accept this confession, leading the jury instead to convict him of murder in the second degree, meaning life in prison. State prosecutors appealed this to the Connecticut Supreme Court, stating that the previous judge committed serious trial error, and Pauca was instead given a harsher verdict, a charge of first-degree murder and the death penalty. Pauca's attorney argued that the effect of the new trial was to place Pauca twice in jeopardy for the same offense, violating the 14th Amendment, but these objections were dismissed and Pauca finally appealed to the Supreme Court. In the court, Pauca and his attorney made the same argument, that the Connecticut Supreme Court was subjecting Pauca to double jeopardy. This double jeopardy clause, presented and protected in the Fifth Amendment, states that no person shall be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. Pauca's attorney then made the argument that the 14th Amendment's due process clause, stating, "Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law," protected the double jeopardy clause in the states as well as the federal court. The court was no kinder to this argument, though, voting with an 8-1 majority that the decision made in the Connecticut Supreme Court would be upheld. Although there was one dissenter, Justice Pierce Butler, he did not write a dissenting opinion. The majority, led by Justice Benjamin Cardozo, delivered the opinion after reviewing the factual and procedural background of Pauca that the argument for the appellant is that whatever is forbidden by the Fifth Amendment is forbidden by the 14th also. His thesis is even broader. Whatever would be a violation of the original Bill of Rights, if done by the federal government, is now equally unlawful by force of the 14th Amendment if done by a state. There is no such general rule. This essentially means that not all provisions in the Bill of Rights had been made binding to the states through the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. Cardozo actually only mentioned fundamental rights, rights that are of the very essence of a scheme of ordered liberty, that neither liberty nor justice would exist if they were sacrificed, and the right to freedom of speech, freedom of press, the right of peaceful assembly, and a right to counsel on a capital case as being bound to state governments. Now this meant that unfortunately for Pauca, claiming double jeopardy wouldn't save him. Now in the years following this court decision, people began fighting for a process called incorporation, where the Supreme Court interpreted rights as being fundamental and binded them to states through the 14th Amendment. The court delivered as numerous rights have been incorporated, including the double jeopardy clause, in the case Benton v. Maryland in 1969, as well as the ability to freely practice religion in 1940, protection against unreasonable searches and seizures in 1949, protection against cruel and unusual punishment in 1962, and so many more. Now, you may be asking yourself, why should I care? Well, although the Supreme Court has made great strides in protecting these rights, they have yet to totally incorporate the Bill of Rights, meaning that certain provisions, including the Third Amendment's protection against quartering soldiers, the Fifth Amendment's right to prosecution on an indictment by a grand jury, the Seventh Amendment's right to a jury trial in civil cases, and the Eighth Amendment's protection against excessive bail and fines are not necessarily protected at the state level. Now, how can you change this? By being actively engaged in politics and your government. You may not believe this, but the government relies heavily on the people to make decisions. The needs and wants of the people and different social or economic issues shape the direction the government follows in its decision-making. So if you want to make a real change, you have to make your voice heard. You can't wait complacently for someone to share your opinions, because it may never happen.